Hello again, my friend. I wanted to update you on what I have worked out new in regards to the circular kind of random movement pattern. Um, I came up with a much simpler, more direct, better system for creating the circular movement. Um, Let me just show you the finished product of what I have right now on this new edition. So here's the fly. It starts moving left and right, up and down, and you notice that it's gradually shifting, circling, coming a little bit straight. It looks like it's now starting to circle in the other direction, and it'll keep going like this. Um, it's not exactly random, but it kind of looks random, and if you have a bunch of different flies, all with different parameters plugged in to make them fly a little bit more wider of a circular movement, or taller, skinnier, fatter, starting at different times. Um, this would be a really nice effect, I think. Maybe this would be close to what you're looking for. But let's take a look real quick what I did. So one of the biggest differences, as you can see over here, is that I added a couple of tween nodes. I've never actually worked with tween nodes until now, so this was an educational experience for me. Instead of timer nodes, we have tween nodes. Looking at the script here, we have, let me just make the text a little bit bigger so you can see it on your screen. We have simple variables, horizontal speed and vertical speed, h speed, v speed. Our vector 2 for our motion, of course. And then we have well, I guess I didn't really need the onReady var because in the end, well, let's see, how did I do this? Where's my... Okay, this is the first time I'm looking at this in a couple of days. Get node tween. Just how did I get the second node is what I can't remember how I did that. Well, anyway, so when the movement starts, I'm going to tell it to start two functions, a move right function and a move down function. When we fire off the move right function, it's going to... Oh, I see what I did here. Yeah, so this guy's not important. It was how I had worked earlier to call in the tween nodes. But then I had just changed it and just called those within the function. So that makes it a little bit easier. So anyway, we have the, we set up our variable, call it tween, and we get node tween. Or you could do your $sign and then the name of the node. Either way you like to do it. And then the code to run your tween would be tween dot, or whatever your variable name is, and then dot interpolate property. And then there's some tutorials on this if you want to look at it, what all of these different things mean in here. It'll usually tell you, kind of give a little pop-up window that gives you hints. You can look up, search the documents, look at the help for it. But basically, you tell it to apply this tween to what node you want to apply it to. In this case, in the fly node, we're just applying it to itself. You tell it what property you want to affect. In this case, I'm doing quotes so that I can actually plug in one of my variables for it. A lot of times, people, they won't use a variable. They'll just go like to their properties. Like if you want to change the position, you look and then you see that the property name is position, and so then in the script right here on the interpolate, I would type in position instead of my variable, but you can do it with variables as well. So you tell it what you want to interpolate, what you want to change, and then you plug in the initial value. I could have put a number here, but instead I just put the property name, which also works in place. The property h speed is 0. I could have put a 0 right here if I wanted to, but I just use the name of the variable so that way if I plug in different numbers to my initial h speed, I don't have to keep going into my tween code and keep changing the number. So you tell it the initial value followed by the value that you want it to kind of gradually ease toward, and then you tell it the time frame that you want that interpolation to take place within. And then these last couple, these are basically just like the type of motion that you want the tween to use and the type of easing that you want it to use. I won't get into that right now. There's some tutorials out there for that. But, I'd be happy to answer any questions you have about that within my limited knowledge that I have of it, since I just learned about this. Now, initially, I did 1 second as my time, right? And if you fire off, say I have 1 for the moving left and right, whenever the tween finishes, it'll restart the tween, but it will yield to when the tween completes. So this move right tween is just responsible for taking the fly and moving him to the right in a gradual speed up slow down. Kind of like what I did with my timer, but now a much cleaner, neater way to do it. And then the move left function will tell the tween to move it to the left. And what I do is, in the move right function, I set all the tween properties in this line of code, and then fire off at the end of that tween, I fire off move left, and in that move left function, it actually takes the same tween and then just redoes all the properties for that tween. So rather than having 2 different tweens for moving left and right, I have 1 tween that just gets changed each function. Each function will plug in different instructions for that tween to follow. And then at the end of the move left tween, it tells the move right function to go, and then so on and so forth. So it does the left and the right in a constant loop over and over and over. I did the same thing with move up and move down. Where's my error here? Wait, what did I do? Why is this suddenly an error? This wasn't an error before. What happened? The identifier tween isn't declared in the... What did I do? Hold on a second. I'm just going to hit undo a few times just to see what I did in my code that kind of messed this up. Yeah, I don't know what I did. I don't know why changing those numbers messed anything up. Alright, anyway. So each tween actually does its move, in my case, in 1 second each. Now, if I fired off all of the, both of the horizontal and vertical functions to get the fly to move back and forth, up and down, if I fired them all off at the same time, I'm going to go ahead and just, I have a yield here. I'm going to just go ahead and get rid of that for a second just to show you what happens. If I do them at the same time, the problem we run into is it will go left and right and up and down equally. So we have just this basic diagonal motion, right, which we don't necessarily want that because we want it to do more of a circular motion. So my initial thing was to just go ahead and add a yield between having the ready function tell this function to go and then telling this function move down to go. And that way, with just that little half second in between, I like to do it like a 1-to-2 ratio. If the tween tells it to go from left to right and does all that in 1 second, then if I delay the vertical one by half of that, so like if this were 4 seconds, I would have it yield 2 seconds, and then that causes the vertical motion to happen half the amount of time later, which results in the nice circular motion once it gets going. Okay. Now, if you wanted to, you could possibly take um, the amount of time that it takes each tween to fire, or maybe the speed before and after, and maybe attach those to a different, like a third tween, that would gradually increase or decrease some of these values within a certain range. Um, and then maybe that would kind of slowly, broaden or narrow the width or height of the circle, or the timing or whatever. I haven't played with that too much because that's going to be a lot of work to just trial and error it and see what numeric values and ranges would be good. And I would obviously have to create separate variables, for like the tween time, and then have another tween constantly altering the tween time. Maybe randomly we're altering the tween time, and that might yield some pretty cool results. However, I just sort of accidentally discovered that if I just manipulate the time, like say, okay, here's my move left and my move right, and they finish their tweens in 1 second of time, so do the move up and move down in 1 second. But now initially I thought, okay, well, what if I make this one be 0.5? Make the left and right be 0.5 while the up and down stays at 1. And that created kind of a cool result. It kind of gave it like a figure 8 movement, which you might really like that. Maybe some of your bees could do like a figure 8 movement. And if you give it more time or more speed or something, you'd have some neat effects. And you can do that in reverse to do figure 8s that go this way, go left and right instead of up and down figure 8s. That's a pretty cool effect. I really like that. However, for a more randomized approach, if you offset the time between the horizontal and the vertical just by a wee little bit, like 0.9 seconds versus 1 second, what's really cool now is that it will start off in a circle, but it gradually makes it not circular and then reverses the rotation of it. Look what I showed you in the very, very beginning of this video when I showed you my finished product. Now, I think that looks nice and random. That is really cool. Plug in different numbers to make that movement bigger or smaller, or faster or slower, depending on what you want to do. And I think that'll be great. Let's see. Let's play with that just a couple things. Like, let's make our speeds slower. I have experimented with making the vertical and the horizontal speeds different. But I think keeping those speeds the same and just offsetting their time works better than trying different speeds. But, play with it yourself and see what you think. But here's a slower speed. Let's see what that looks like. So it's just kind of meandering. Alright, so the slower speed actually creates a smaller shape to their flight pattern, which is cool. That could work. But if let's say we did that, but maybe doubled our time up, right? So let's say 2, and we'll say 0.18. Let's see what that looks like. Oh, okay, maybe not. Well, that's kind of a neat effect, too. Well, what if I do... Let's see. How should that have worked? Oh, wait. You know what it was? It should have been 1.8. Ha! Math is not my strong suit. You think it would be since I'm doing coding. 1.8, not 0.18. That should have the desired effect of a nice slower movement, but bigger. Yeah, there we go. A nice ponderous, big motion that should have the same basic effect, but takes longer to do so. See, now here we are, the x and the y are the same, and now the y is starting to get or the x is starting to get adjusted slightly behind the y's adjustment, and so now the rotation thus has changed. So lots and lots of really cool, fun variables that we can plug in. I'm sorry, very cool results that we can produce by changing these variables up a little bit. I think using this tween method is probably the best way so far. Um, I mean, when I did it before with the timer in the other one, in fly number 3 in my little experimental project here. Was it? No, it wasn't fly 3. Which one was it? Was it? I think it might have been World 2 that I did it in. Yeah, probably this one. Let's try that one. Oh no, that's something else. That's something else I was playing with. I was playing with. I forget what I was playing with in that one. But I was doing a spawn thing and trying to use. Oh, I was experimenting with for loops because I hadn't used for loops yet. So I was just trying to see if for n in 10, meaning I set up the number 10 and for every variable within that range of 10, it's going to spawn a fly, but then after it spawns 10 flies, it's going to stop spawning flies because the way the for loop works. Anyway, that was not related to what we were talking about. It was just something I came across and was doing just for my own education. But yeah, I don't know where my other one is that I was it in this one? Where was the one where I had the randomized? Was it this one? Oh, it might have been this one. Yeah, I know I was a little sloppy in labeling all of my. No, that's the same one. What? Yeah, maybe I erased my work on that one. Maybe I got rid of it. Yeah, I think I did. I must have. Yeah, but that's okay. What was it? Maybe it was in Fly 2. Maybe that was the one. Yeah, that was probably the one. Yeah, this is the one that uses the timer to create the circular motion. But the problem with this particular example is just that like all this timer stuff and having to use the boolean and the less than and greater than conditions for the speed and the timing of it and everything. It's just so tricky and so delicate. I think that it's going to be harder. I think to tweak the numbers and experiment with different paths. Whereas this new one using the tweens, it's a little bit more straightforward. Only 2 tweens are needed. The only reason I needed 2 was because I'm having my horizontal and vertical movement being changed by tweens at the same time. That won't work if I don't at least I don't think it'll work with one tween trying to alter vertical and horizontal simultaneously. That's probably not going to be a good thing. I mean, maybe you could have 2 lines of code that would do that at the same time. I don't know. I just didn't want to risk it and just kind of use one tween that alters both moving left and right, and one tween that moves moving up and down simultaneously to create our circle. Anyway, if you have any questions on this, if you like this or hate this, let me know. Shoot me a message back, and or just let me know if you need any help getting this running. But you've done some pretty awesome stuff on your own, so I think you probably are doing pretty well without my help here. But happy to offer whatever assistance I can. All right, my friend. Take care and God bless.